Hello, everyone, friends of all ages. Welcome back to Her Journey, Her Strength, where we honor women's voices, choices, and the beautiful ways they shape our world. I'm Serena. Today's guest has had a path full of twists and turns, but every step she's taken has been guided by purpose. She is a social justice lawyer, policy advocate, permaculture designer, an educator, a mother, and meditator. Someone who builds community the same way she builds gardens, with intention, compassion, and a deep respect for life. Let's give a warm welcome to Michele Antenorcruz.
Thank you, Serena. It's nice to be here.
Michele, your career path is incredible, and I was wondering, is there like a project in your life that made you think, yes, this is a project that I'm meant to be doing?
Definitely. I recently had a career switch, which was in the making for a long time, to become a landscape designer. And after I've done the designs and gone over them with my clients, and the day that the plants come, I feel like it's Christmas morning because I'm so excited to get all the plants. And then I tell my clients the plans are just conceptual, and when I get the plants, I'm going to look at them and look at their space and design everything in the moment. And I think that being in the moment at that time and using my creative skills definitely feels like I'm in the flow and almost feel like I was meant to do. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
nice that you have found something you're passionate about, and it's a great project.
Yeah. I think of a very specific project I did recently, and I was really lucky to get a project at a school because I was able to work with the students to begin with. It was the students' idea to take a piece of land that was on their campus that hadn't been developed yet and it was still in a natural state and to really regenerate the land. And so when I was asked if I could come up with a proposal, the first thing I did was I went back and I talked to all the stakeholders. I talked to the students and the teachers, the administrators, the people who take care of the land and are the operations crew. And after I got all of their input, I put that together and I presented it to the administration. And really, it was the ideas that were generated by all the stakeholders. And I was in complete agreement with it. And I put the design together, and the school wanted to go forward with it. And the land, when we worked on it over the summer, was so dusty and dry. There wasn't any sign of life. It was just like the dirt was dead. And there were no worms, there was nothing, even though we dug quite a bit. And what the students wanted to do was really take that land and have it come to life. So the first thing we did was we designed a way to capture the water. So we took the water off of the roofs of the buildings whenever it rains, and we're able to capture 4,000 gallons of water
Wow.
if there's a 1-inch rain event. And the water goes from the roofs under the driveway, and then we dug out a 300-foot dry riverbed, and when it rains, the water soaks back into the land and it recharges the aquifer. And so that's really important for this region because there are regional goals to try to switch from having water that comes from external sources like Northern California and the Colorado River, and to have the majority of the water come from Los Angeles basin itself. And so this is a big part of what we could do to add our little piece to the puzzle of recharging the aquifer.
Yeah, it's pretty creative. It's nice that like all the kids can think of like something to address like a problem that can probably be applied to other gardens or other parks.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's something that could be done in someone's home as well.
I'm guessing experiences like that really shape how you lead. And I'm wondering, how has your leadership style changed from your 20s to now?
Sure. So in my 20s, I started off as a lawyer, and my first job was working in a legal clinic for a large immigration nonprofit. And I was very timid, and I was sort of so nervous about doing my job. But for some reason, I very quickly became the legal director of this nonprofit, and I was still very inexperienced. However, whenever there was an opportunity, I would rise to the occasion even if I felt really nervous. For example, one time there was a situation that was really tense. There was a lot of tension between people who were street vendors and the police. And for some reason, they came to our organization, and the street vendors were standing on one side of the street, right in front of our organization, and the police were on the other side of the street. So the executive director looked at me and he said, "You go out there and talk to them." So I had to go out there and talk to both the police and the street vendors and ask them like what the issue was and if there was any way for us to help. Once they both expressed what their concerns were, the tension broke a little bit, and they dispersed and they left, and there weren't any issues. And I think it was just incrementally over time, I had to keep stepping up into different situations where I didn't necessarily feel like I had the experience or the capability, but I had to just go out of my comfort zone and keep trying. So in my 20s, I think it was a lot of experimentation where I would try even if I didn't have the experience. And then now, as I have more experience, I can carry it into the work I do. For example, I have to work with a lot of contractors now. And if a contractor is not willing to listen to me, in the end, we might have to part ways. That doesn't mean that I don't have conversations, because I do have conversations with the contractors, and sometimes we have different opinions, and I'm absolutely willing to go in the direction that they want to go. But sometimes I really feel strongly about my position, and if I consistently get a lot of pushback, then I have to say maybe we're not the right fit, and I'm not worried about working with someone else. And so I think what's happened is that I've really come into my own power and understanding that when I have a certain role, that I can feel comfortable stepping into that role and not worry so much about what other people think. And that really has come with experience and time.
Yeah. Standing in your own power, but also respecting others, is such a key part of leadership. And how do you put that off?
Really being present and understanding where the other person is coming from and listening to them helps, because if I'm in my own head and just stuck in my own vision, then I'm not pulling other people's perspectives into the project, and I think other people's perspectives are important. So having the spaciousness to include what other people are thinking and really weighing it allows me to know when I should follow what someone else is saying, or if I should stick with what my original instinct was regarding any particular decision.
Yeah, I do agree. Mutual respecting each other is definitely the key. Since true listening requires empathy, what tips would you give parents who also want to nurture empathy in their children?
Parenting is a very difficult job. It's probably one of the most difficult jobs, because you're an adult and then suddenly you have to kind of let go a lot of the things that you have created and learned how to do as an adult and sort of rethink it, because you have these little creatures who are dependent on you. When I was raising our 3 little children with my husband, the most important way that I could help them nurture their own empathy, I think, was number 1, taking care of myself and taking some time for myself. Also, really listening to them and what they were saying, instead of like paying half attention, like really trying to hear what they were saying. Because what I found is that when I focused on them and was really present with them, then they would ask for a lot less. And it was really interesting. And so I think that allowed them to feel comfortable in themselves. And then once we're a little bit more comfortable inside of our own bodies and ourselves, then we can turn outside to the world and begin to have empathy for others. But without that core ability to really understand where we are and what our feelings are, it's really hard to open up to other people and understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I used to do one thing that I remember so distinctly was in the summers, those long days, and I tried not to overprogram them, which was a plus and minus because then sometimes they'd be bored and grouchy. But I would say to my kids, okay, I am going to spend 1/2 hour with each of you alone. And then I need you to do something safe on your own for a little bit. And then after I spend a 1/2 hour with, let's say, my youngest, I start with him. And then I would go spend a 1/2 hour just with the other one, and then another 1/2 hour with the third. And then the whole day would be so much calmer because I feel like they had a little bit of time and attention on their own with me.
Yeah.
And then they could go about their day, and our whole day would go a lot more smoothly. So that was one thing. And I remember one thing my oldest son said that stuck with me a lot, which is one time he was looking in a window at a restaurant, and he said, I can see inside where the people are eating, and I can also see my own reflection in the window. And he said that's like compassion, where you can see yourself in others. That really blew me away, and it always stuck with me.
Oh, it's amazing that he said it like when he was little.
Yeah.
It's like you can see others
Yes.
when you're
exactly.
reflecting yourself. So that's empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I know motherhood is really challenging, especially when you have a career. So have you ever been in a situation that you encounter or experience unfair treatment?
Yes. So I'm going to go back to a very early memory I had in my childhood. And I grew up in a great neighborhood, which is just on the west side of the Los Angeles River. And it's a small neighborhood known as Frogtown. And it was such a great neighborhood to grow up in because there are all these dead-end streets due to the river. So all of us kids could play on the street. I became a really good athlete along with some of the other girls in my neighborhood, and we also would practice baseball a lot with one of the dads, and he trained us really well. And so we went to the local park to sign up to play on the Little League, but there was no girls' team. It was only boys' teams. But we signed up anyway. And when we signed up, they took a look at us and they said, these are only boys that can play here. So they made us sit on the bench for 1 year. And we had to just get the baseballs for the boys and like pick up all the stray balls. And we were really like just treated as second-class citizens only because we were girls. The next year we did play, and we were able to play on the team. And the boys who were on the team treated us like very fairly, and they never made jokes about us or anything because we were good athletes. We were really
Probably
good.
even better.
Because we practiced a lot.
Yeah.
But that was just something that was inherently unfair, and that stuck with me probably my whole life.
It's like the unfairness of the whole system that like they don't allow girls to play.
Yeah, I think that's changed now, and I
Yeah.
think that at least if they don't want to integrate the teams, there should be a separate girls' team for the girls to play. And I know there's still a lot of gender issues, not just regarding sports teams, because that's still a really a live issue now. And there's still a long way to go for women. And I feel like in our small part, in our small way, by breaking that gender barrier in the Little League of Elysian Valley, that we made, a little step so that things do become fairer for women and for female athletes.
Yeah, I can see like less unfair treatments like that happen nowadays.
Yeah, slowly.
Later on in school or in career, did you also encounter any similar, invisible doors in your life? And how did you push them open?
Yes, I mean, throughout my career, I've had a lot of strange things happen. For example, when I did my first trial, I told the judge that it was my first case, and I would love to speak with her afterwards to hear a critique on how I did and any advice she'd want to give me. And she said to me that I spoke English well. And I was a little bit confused about why she said that. And I said,
Yeah.
well, I am a native speaker. I don't remember what her reaction was, but I just remember that comment. And I thought, of all the things she could say, that was a very strange one.
Yeah.
And then I also think, as a result of being a young woman as a lawyer, I remember one time I was on another case and it was a big case. And so all the lawyers were walking in to the courtroom. But when it came my turn to walk in, the person who was guarding the door made me show my ID and my bar card because he didn't believe I was part of the legal team. Also, again, it's like people have these unaware biases,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I saw them sort of come out in different ways. Another time I was in front of a judge with my client and he insisted I wasn't the lawyer. I said, I am the lawyer. And I had to argue with him for quite a while and finally show him my bar card. And then he believed me and let me go forward with the case. But he just couldn't believe that I was a lawyer. I really hope that young women who are now going into the courtroom don't have the same experiences that I've had. And I hope that they're accepted as being the legal counsel for their client.
Yeah. When you're going through a rough patch, how do you stay motivated and keep yourself going?
I think my meditation practice helps me a lot. When the kids were little, we used to take them to this Buddhist monastery called Deer Park Monastery. And at Deer Park, the monks and the nuns encouraged the children to run around and play and enjoy nature. And they could be as loud as they wanted to be. And it wasn't like this super quiet place
Yeah.
where everyone had to behave well. And I have a local sangha, and we practice meditation together, and we read something that is inspirational. And then we do Dharma sharing, which is basically speaking from our hearts and sharing whatever's on our minds at the moment. I have been with them for over 10 years, and I feel like I'm able to be myself and to say whatever's on my mind. And nobody gives advice or tries to help us figure out the problem. But there's a lot of power in just that deep listening. So I feel like my meditation practice has been very grounding. And on my own, I try to practice at least 1 to 3 minutes of my own meditation. And I still get upset and I still have issues in the world. I think the difference is that when I'm experiencing it, I have a nanosecond of awareness, and that little moment of awareness helps me to be a little bit calmer in the situation. But even if I'm not, I'm totally feeling my feelings in that moment.
Yeah.
And then I could go back later and sort of investigate, like, why did that trigger me? Or why did I get so upset about that? And try to bring awareness to whatever trouble I got myself into.
Yeah. I think like meditation is like you try to think of everything and feeling yourself as a third person, and you can like be aware of like your surrounding, be aware of your mood, like how you're feeling today, and then it's also good for your health.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Do you have any practical tips for getting into the calm state quickly during meditation?
I think the practice, number one, helps. It's a practice. Like, it's not something that I've mastered. So I think that getting into a meditative state quickly is just by doing it consistently. So like I said, if I practice 1 to 3 minutes a day, and then on the weekends when I'm with my sangha, I practice a half an hour, then that helps. What helps me get into a calm state quickly besides that is not being judgmental, because whatever is happening in my mind, I can just watch it and let it be and not glom onto, oh, I shouldn't be thinking too much, or I shouldn't have anxiety, or I shouldn't be upset, or I shouldn't, instead of having all that, I just look at what is. And then I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah, like emptying your mind and like just let it go.
Yeah. And in order to get to that place of emptying my mind, I first need to see all of the crazy business that's going on in there first.
Nice. Have you ever had a memorable meditation moment that you want to share with us?
There have been a lot of moments through the years. I think, sometimes meditating for the deeper meditations, I might have a release of emotions, and I love not connecting a story to it. In our society, I feel like we value happiness so much, and I get that. Happiness is great and it's wonderful, but sometimes it's at the cost of not valuing a wide range of emotions that we experience as human beings. So, if I experience some sort of sadness, especially during meditation, I can just accept that sadness and kind of nurture it and hold it and let it be and not say, oh, that has to go away because I only need to feel happy. In fact, I feel like really valuing those moments allows a space for happiness and joy to enter because it's okay to feel a range of emotions.
Now it's time for a fun experiment. Michelle is here to lead a few of our curious young guests through a short, easy meditation. Nothing fancy, just a chance to slow down. Take a few breaths and see what it feels like to be fully present. Feel free to come along on this little mindful adventure with us. Let's get back, have some fun, and maybe even discover a bit of calm together.
Well, nice to meet all of you. Have you ever tried meditating before? Meditating sounds like a big word that may be a little bit complex and mysterious, but actually, we're going to break it down to something that's very simple. We're going to first start with sitting comfortably and then bringing ourselves to notice our breath. So breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. You might already start to feel your body begin to relax and calm down. We're going to bring that energy to everyday life with something that we all do every day, which is we all eat, right? So I'm going to pass you a tangerine. If you could pass that over. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and I have one too. So the first thing we're going to do is sort of just feel the way it feels in our hands. And again, let's just take a breath in and a breath out and focus on what that feeling is. If you want to, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. So let's take a breath in and a breath out. Now that we have felt it, we're going to use a different sense. We're going to look at it. You can turn it around and see what you see. You can even use it as a ball. And now another thing we're going to do is we're going to very slowly start to peel it. And you can put the peels here, or I have a napkin for you if you want to use a napkin. You can pass it over. And let's just peel it and put the peels on the napkin and kind of notice what's happening. Like, just pay attention to what's happening as you peel it. Bring some focus and energy to the movement of your hands. And even if it's something that's not comfortable, just take note of that. Is it easy to peel or is it hard to peel? And we're also noticing it's not a race, right? We can slow down a little bit. Before we start to eat the tangerine, let me ask you a question. What did you notice about the way it felt when you were peeling it?
It felt good.
It felt good? In what way?
Like calm way.
Oh, because you were doing it calmly with awareness, maybe? Yeah? How about you? How did that feel?
It felt very calming for me.
Oh, that's good. I think it's just bringing attention to what we're doing. So now, before we eat it, let's again take a look at it and let's think very deeply for a moment. You don't have to say anything yet, but let's think about where did the tangerine come from? And what were all the different causes and conditions? What were the different things that had to exist to bring it to this moment here? We'll just think about that for a minute. As you're contemplating that, Now you could take one piece. And normally, when I eat a tangerine, I'm watching TV or I'm running through my garden or I am driving a car even. But now I'm bringing my full attention to this little segment here. I'm going to look at it for a second, notice it. I might even say hello. Hello. And now I'm going to try it. So if you want, you could go ahead and taste it. So let me ask you, after you finish chewing, how did it taste?
It tasted good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt very hydrating.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And yeah, it helped me clear my mind a bit.
Yeah, good. That's wonderful. Why do you think that is?
I feel like it's not just about me eating the orange, but also we're here, we're very calm, and then I feel like that's just helping me clear my mind a lot, and then I feel very spiritual and calm here.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. It's kind of magical when we bring our attention to something and really focus on it, how we might experience it a little bit differently than when we're in our everyday life and so busy and not paying as much attention. So I think that's maybe some of what you're describing. Yeah. Does anyone else want to say?
It was really sweet.
Uh-huh.
It was pretty good and hydrating.
Yeah. Yeah, you felt like it was juicy. Yeah. Now let me go back to the question I started with, which was where the tangerine came from. Anna, where did the tangerine come from?
Tree.
That's right, it came from a tree. And what did the tree need to grow?
Water.
Water, what else?
Sunshine.
Yep, sunshine,
Soil,
soil,
fertilizer.
fertilizer. Yeah, all of those things.
Oxygen.
Oxygen, that's right. All of those things are now inside of this, right? And because we ate it, it's inside of us. So we have a little bit of sunshine in us, a little bit of the sky and the water comes from the sky or the rivers. And all of that is now part of us, and we're connected to that part of the earth. And guess what? This came from a tree that's in my yard. So I watered it, and I made sure that it grew, and I just picked them right before I came. So I can even feel more connected to the fruit that grew in my garden. Yeah. So that's like meditation eating, because we took our time to eat and noticed it, and we ate slowly, and we didn't sort of gobble it, looking at our phone in the one hand and eating with the other. Instead, we were paying attention to what we're eating and allow that moment to help nourish us as well.
What a chill session that was. Michelle and the kids give meditation a try. And honestly, their little insights were pretty awesome. Hopefully, it got you thinking about taking a breather, noticing the moment, and maybe meditating yourself. Now let's hear some questions from our young friends.
Hi, Miss Michelle. Can you share an object that has special meaning to you and tell us the story behind it?
Definitely. I even brought it with me. This is a violin case that is a trinket. And engraved on it, it says P. Antonio on the back, because my great-grandfather, her father, was a violinist. And inside is a violin, and the violin even comes out. And there's even a space to keep what would be the wax that you use on the violin bow. When my grandmother came to this country, she worked in a kitchen. She also was a concert pianist where she lived in Japan. And her father was a violinist because it was a family of musicians. And nobody would have known that as she was in the kitchen wearing her hairnet and her uniform and learning how to chop vegetables, because she really never knew how to do that. And it's just fascinating to me when I see people walking down the street. I kind of wonder, what is their special thing that they know how to do, or what they think about, or what special talent they might have.
Miss Michelle, who are the women that influenced you the most in life or work?
I really have to say it comes from my lineage. My grandmother, who was that hard worker and who sort of let her old life go and just started a new life. And also she raised me for most of my life because my mom was busy working. And so my mom is the next person, because she was a single mom and she found it really important to finish her college degree, and she did that, and she had a really outstanding career with the city of Los Angeles and made a really big difference for our city. And so I really look to my grandmother and my mother as the most influential.
Hello, Miss Michele. What core values guide the way you work and live?
I really feel that my core values come from listening to that little voice in my head that tells me the right way to do something for myself.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that things are going to be okay, even when difficulties arise, because that's the nature of living. We're always going to have difficulties. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and things will be okay.
Miss Michele, what does success mean to you personally?
I think the really important thing for me is not to judge it based on what other people think about me, but what I know feels right inside of myself.
Quick fire round. Please finish these sentences. If there were 25 hours in a day, what would you do with the extra hour?
I would spend that time connecting more with my husband.
The book I recently read is
Ilustrado by Miguel Sayuco
my motto that guides me through.
is one step is enough for me.
My favorite family activity is.
Making dinner together.
The advice I would give to parents today is.
Enjoy every moment.
My feelings about this visit is.
I'd really appreciate being with you and talking to you about my experiences.
A huge thanks to Michele for joining us today. It's been amazing hearing her stories, her approach to mindfulness, and the way she brings curiosity and calm into everyday life. We learned a lot, shared some laughs, and hopefully found a little inspiration to pause, breathe, and notice the world around us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Keep challenging, keep nurturing. If there's a voice from any field you would like to hear, feel free to follow us on Instagram and leave a comment. We'll do our best to make it happen. Until then, stay bold. This is Serena. Class dismissed. See you next time.
Be part of the Earth Foundation.